Whatever you bring up is just going to come down. There can't be the clouds without the sky. There can't be the waves without the ocean.
If you have self-esteem because you know and you feel that you have good qualities, because you have a good heart, you don't need anyone to love you.
If we don't create the better times, nothing's going to happen.
Welcome back to Mulligan Brothers. Today's video, as always, was sponsored by Huel. I'm drinking Huel Black Edition, which has 26 vitamins and minerals, 35 grams of protein and slow release carbs to make sure that I can stay satiated and proteined up whilst I make these documentaries. If you want to find out more about these, go to the link in the description. I'll talk about them a little bit later on in the video.
We had an experience this year, myself and Niamh. We went to, I won't name the name, but we went to a spiritual leader, and it was a different philosophy from this idea that you have where you can learn from everybody and to have an openness. The philosophy was more about, it was a lot to do with like worship and to stick to a very specific script and to worship one person, and this one person was the all-seeing, all-being. It sounds like I'm describing religion, but it was, it was very much like this situation for a person, and it just didn't sit right with me, and there's something off about it. But I am curious, as in Buddhism or in Shaolin, like these figureheads and the idea of worshiping them, is it built into some of the teachings that you have to bow to the feet of people, that kind of thing, and how do you balance that but also like have the self-respect and balance those two kind of things?
If you would like to learn Kung Fu, you can't go to a Muay Thai teacher. If you want to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can't go to a piano teacher. You want to learn snake form, snake style, you need to find a master, you need to find someone who possesses that type of style. What makes a style different from another? It's because it's based on different methods that are used within the teaching curriculum, which means if you say, I want to learn monkey style, and I look at what you are training, for example, well, then you can actually tell, if somebody knows, if it fits actually to what you want to achieve. And so definitely you can say this is wrong. Yeah, so when I talk about, it's about inclusion, it's about connecting, it's about, let's say, in a way, also tolerance, but it's also this type of realization. If you want something very specific, if there is a focus of what you want to achieve, there is definitely a wrong and a right. Yeah. For example, in the martial arts as well. But in my world, meanwhile, I don't care about snake style. I don't care about praying mantis style. I don't care about any specific northern style, southern style. I want to know what makes these styles possible at all in the first place. So I don't focus on this, not focus on this, not on this, on this. It would be focusing on, there's the hand. It's the hand in the first place, which makes this possible, that one I can't show, this possible, and this possible. They all derive from this basis, from the hand. I want to know about the hand. I don't want to get stuck in this one. So that means no matter which teacher it is, which spiritual guide it is, because I don't know him, it might be that he has one very specific direction that he would like to guide his students or his disciples or his follower towards. And so therefore I can understand that in order to reach exactly this goal, There is this way. What I do is, I don't believe in one specific way. I believe that 8 billion people have 8 billion ways, 8 billion fingers, and I care about how does that hand look that is able to express itself in 8 billion fingers. My focus is on the hand. And this is ultimately just the thing. So it's just a switch in the mind which makes the difference. And so for me, when I hear this, it's absolutely fine. Yeah? I would never say that person is wrong or whatever. It just depends on what is your overall perspective you are talking about and you are emphasizing. And because, for me personally, the world of forms is limited. The world of forms is limited. No matter which style you practice, you're going to lose it at the end. As long as you have focus on one, you're going to lose the one. You bring one to life, that one is going to just, whatever you bring up, it's just going to come down. Okay? And this is now again, like I told you, just with the fingers and the hands. This is now similar, like those sayings. There can't be the waves without the ocean. There can't be the clouds without the sky. And there can't be you without something that is realizing you are you. The fundamental basics of the basis, the foundation of existence. This is what is interesting to me. And there I think there's one that connects us. But I don't dare to give that one a name. I don't know.
What's the going in look like? Like, what is the healing process look like for, if you've had disciples or people come to you in the past, like how would you tell them to find a way to heal?
I am not a psychotherapist, for example, yeah? That's why on the one side, if there are specialists focusing on something, I definitely would consult them and maybe ask for their advice. It's really difficult in a way for me to say about such specific situations because it feels different when it happens. Mm-hmm. Okay? But my difficult situations, I have also lost people. What keeps me going is that I trust in what I continuously share out all the time. I'm not looking for the single systems, for the single forms. I want to know where all of them come from. Because my fundamental understanding is, my fundamental belief is, there is one source. It might be at a moment like this that I don't 24 hours a day have the feeling of being within that source. Because it feels like I'm speaking out of this body. But still, there is that side of me in search for that unity. If that unity, if that one is there, there's no one I could have ever lost. I just lose them because I'm constantly stuck inside of this at the moment. Why are you suffering? Because you are the person who suffers. You can always only suffer because there's something about you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is exactly it. Yeah. Then I ask the question, okay, but who are you? Identify yourself properly. Like, who are you? Like, are you these clothes that you're wearing? Or is it this body together with the clothing that makes you you? Or must it be the clothing, the body, the skin color, and the eye color, and also the same name that makes you you? And there, I'm in a different understanding. Yeah, I have been there in the first moment. I even have been there already in the womb of the mother. There we have been already. Everything afterwards, Shi Heng Yi came afterwards. In the womb of my mother, I was there already. Not even having my worldly name, not even having a monastic name, didn't really care about like which religion I belong to as what I identify myself. I was there, I know I was there. This is like I return to the source and want to know even the beginning of that. This is what I'm interested in. And because I have this weird way of thinking, this is why I think when there is the connection, it's the connection. And everything that now maybe happens, maybe it just happened, these type of things, in order for you to start the search. Because for me, this thought that it's existing, this gives me all the power. This gives me all the motivation to come back and see everyone again.
Some of the comments we've had on videos that have circled around the theme of love before and how to find love or that kind of stuff is there's quite a large portion of comments is like, well, yeah, but nobody loves me. No, you know, I'm not loved. Nobody loves me. I'm incapable of being loved. Yeah, yeah. And is the answer that you're saying you need to love? You need to love to be loved?
Oh, this is a great question. Yeah, this is like I really like this point because it's so common, like this idea I need to be loved, or I'm unlovable, or people don't love me, or related to this is you have to love yourself before you can love others, or I loved once and it got hurt, so I'm never going to love again. There's all of these common arguments or objections that come up when we talk about this. Now, first of all, what we have to have within us is love. And for there to be love within us, we have to love other people. If we try to love ourselves, I mean, I don't know if you've actually thought about how to do this practically. The idea of actually loving yourself, like whether that means you wrap your arms around yourself or what, but it becomes an extremely difficult thing to do because it's very difficult to work out what it is you're actually loving. Like if you look into your heart, it's just clarity of mind. So, but if you love others, you develop a warm heart, feeling of being close to others, you develop affection. Once you have affection in your mind, you like the person you are. And so whether or not people love you or not is irrelevant. If you like the person you are, if you're comfortable in your own skin, if you have self-esteem because you know and you feel that you have good qualities, because you have a good heart, you don't need anyone to love you. Of course, people are drawn to that. You don't need to worry about whether people will love you or not. If you care for people genuinely, and I'll talk about the mistakes that we can make in that department as well, but if we care for people genuinely, if we have a warm heart and a feeling of being close to others, we will not only be completely contented with the person we are, but of course, people will be drawn to us. I feel where the mistake happens is we confuse love with attachment. And we feel that we want to be needed, and we want people to need us. Yeah, this is unhealthy. This is what leads to the common, like the codependency relationships, the narcissistic codependent relationship, all of these things, they're all the same mind, all coming from attachment, whether it's a narcissistic mind or a codependent mind, it's all coming from the same place. It's not love. In that situation, we're focused on ourselves. This is like, maybe we could call this self-love. And where we think, I'm important and I need something from someone else. It's a very selfish mind. It's often confused with love. Like if you think of some of the lyrics of love songs, I can't live if living is without you. And then imagine that someone came to your front door and said, oh, hi, just want you to know, I can't live if living is without you. You'd be like, back away from the door. I'm phoning the police. Like, it's a stalker mind, right? And so many song lyrics are actually, if you really listen to the words, they're very much like obsessive, stalker-like words that is very unhealthy and that you would never really want in a relationship. Whereas true love is it's pure. True love is like, I want you to be happy. It's quite simple. Like, all our energies, instead of coming in, what about me? It's going out, like, what about you? And it's so beautiful and it's so healthy and it never hurts. It will never hurt you. Why? Because it is by nature the experience of peace. Therefore, it's what we would call a true source of happiness. So if you love somebody truly, you will always be happy. Now, commonly, people to that would say, well, what if I do that, I could become a doormat. People might take advantage of my kindness, of my love. They won't. Because you're already at peace, because you're happy, you see what's going on. When we're attached to someone, like when we're only focused on our own happiness, and then we develop, to fulfill that wish, we develop attachment to someone, it's effectively like giving them the keys to our happiness. As soon as you're attached to someone, we've all been in a relationship where we are more attached to someone than they are to us. As soon as you're in that dynamic, they can do whatever they like. They can treat us badly and we'll go back for more because we've become dependent on their approval, on their validation, on everything they want, because we're afraid that if we lose them, we lose our happiness. So love will never make us a doormat, but self-love or self-cherishing, giving rise to attachment and dependency, will always make us a doormat. Always. Whereas love is free. Once I went to a wedding, Christian wedding, and a minister in the church, he said to these were two of my friends getting married, and the minister said, look at the pillars in the church. He said, they're a little bit far apart. If they were too close together, the roof would fall off. And then he said, that's my advice for your wedding, for your marriage. Like, true love means just let them be who they are and support them, wish for them to be happy. Whereas normally we confuse attachment for love, which is when we want to grab hold of them and pull them towards us. And if you develop that mind, you become vulnerable and lots of problems come. But whereas if you give them space, just want them to be happy, you can never be manipulated. They can never take advantage. And if they do start behaving in unhealthy ways, of course, you love them, so you try to help them. But in the end, if the relationship has to come to an end, although it's challenging, you'll never spiral into despair because you will know you're a good person with a good heart.
I think personally, just for the fact of lead with your actions, we say actions speak louder than words, but I think in combination, like, you have to have the action. Social media today, everybody can speak, everybody can talk. Yeah. But no actions.
That's what I said. Talk is good. I also do this. Talk is good. Blah, 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 blah. Talk too much make me feel tired. Yeah. Show me how much you love me. Show me how much you can do. Demonstrate. You're speaking beautiful. Yeah. Let me see how much you can do. Be honest with yourself. That's what I can represent the Shaolin Temple. That's what I try to explain to you. I can explain to you right now. Shaolin Temple martial arts, only, for example, are few forms. In the Chinese martial arts area, in Chinese culture, they draw a line. Shaolin Temple martial art is external. They draw a line in Wu-Tang martial arts is internal. Yes, for example, Tai Chi. For example, Tai Chi Chuan. Internal. Yeah. Heng Yi. Yeah, Ba Gua. They draw a line. You talk about internal, external, I have it. You talk about different kind of flavors, variety, handsome Shifu right here. I describe myself. Life, dictionary, of martial arts. I have it.
You talk about as a child, you know, the discipline that your parents gave you, that your masters gave you. And today, you're right, some people would call it abuse. But I personally see it as extremely important. It's why I think athletes thrive after, you know, their careers, you know, because they've had to have discipline to become a great athlete. How important is it to have that in your life, to have structure and discipline?
Discipline is the most important thing in our lives, in a human life. Doesn't matter if from United States, United Kingdom, China, Europe, Russia, South America, wherever you come from. Discipline is the most important thing in human life, in people's life. You have to discipline yourself. You don't discipline yourself, doesn't make sense. You not appreciate you have a great life. You not appreciate you have a precious life of purpose. You appreciate your life right here, the purposely to live. Do something meaningful for yourself, for other people, for the world. That's why you're here. Appreciate. Yeah. That's what that we take self-discipline. I'm tired. I don't want to get up to exercise my precious life. I'm tired. I don't want to go to study. I'm tired. I don't want to go to work. Call in. I'm not feeling well. Look, life has everything. Just like a weather. Cloudy, raining, snow, windy, hot, cold. Life has everything. Understand that? Don't let this kind of like cold, hot, I don't feel good. Start to make excuses in life. When you start to make excuses all around you, like doom. You cannot go over because you already build relationship with excuses. Excuses loves you, you love excuses. Go ahead. Continue to damage yourself. Yeah. Continue to destroy your life. Don't do that. I suggest everybody stand tall, be proud, appreciate, understand purpose you're here. Yeah, do something meaningful for yourself. Yeah. Stay in front of the mirror. That's why I said mirror around you. 360 degrees. Look at yourself. Why I treat myself like this? Why I treat myself like nothing? You know what I mean? Why I disrespect myself? Why I'm here? Wasting my life? Don't do that. Stand tall, be proud, live life with purpose. In front of the mirror, look at yourself. Let me do something. Yeah. Later on, you get out of here, go underground, leave. You turn ahead, look at, I did good, my life. You feel good. Yeah. Don't regret afterwards, 40 years later, 50 years later, why I left a life like that. Yeah. You slap your face, too late. You know what I mean? You ask yourself, too late. Yeah. From now, this moment.
I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Today's episode, as always, was powered by Huel. Obviously, I've been using Huel for the past few years, but right now, as we speak, I'm doing the world's heaviest marathon where I do 100 kilos across Scotland, and then I'm going to have a stone cut down into a 30 kilo stone and run that back 450 miles over 10 days. To do that, I need to be fueled with the right nutrition, and that's where Huel has come in clutch. They provided me this and so much more as I consume over 15,000 calories per day running across the country. From the essentials with slow release carbs, and then we have the black edition, which I have been using throughout my training and I will be using all the way across the country. In this mix right here, we have 26 vitamins and minerals, slow release carbs, and 40 grams of protein in every shake that I drink to maintain my muscle mass as I burn 15,000 plus calories every single day. This is what I'm going to be using. But don't just take my word for it. There are many other amazing athletes who have been using this product, like one of my favorite, Russ, the hardest geezer, as he ran the entire length of Africa. If you want to find out more about Huel, head to the link in the description where you can get exclusive offers, or pop into your local store. All major retailers stock Huel, and I promise you, once you've tried it, you'll never go back. Let's dive back into the episode.
People want to know how to stop overthinking. How do they stop overthinking or ruminating on things?
The easy answer would right now be learn how to meditate, okay? But to really bring it into perspective right now, overthinking is either something inside of the mind is fluctuating all the time. There is too much input available and it's jumping from one to another. So in a way, there is that type of restlessness of the mind. It's continuously jumping, which means it's too much. So you're thinking about too many different things. This is one type of overthinking. Overthinking can also mean you only have one thing that is like keeping you busy, but you are turning it over and over again and never come to any type of conclusion. It's also a type of overthinking related to, let's say, one subject. So these are now simplified, the two problematic states. Problematic if you don't have the ability to switch it off if you want to switch it off. Yeah? If you have the ability to regulate this about yourself. So when you want to be focused, you can be focused. When you want to dream, you can dream. If you want to make your brainstorming, you can open up for brainstorming. If this is the range of adjustment you have about yourself, then it's not a problem. A problem is if you need to stay focused, but then you're shattered. These are the moments when it makes sense to learn methods, how to avoid that, or how to really focus when you need focus. Now, I wouldn't say that the right approach would be to state that focus is the only right way. No, we have focus in this life, which means there's a limited type of view you're putting yourself in, because this limited type of view is the collection of awareness, it's the collection, the summary of intention into a specific spot that you want right now to make it grow faster or to develop faster. That's why we need focus. That all the energy is bundled into that one focus point. So you want to push something forward, you need focus. But how, amongst all this variety of options that we humans sometimes have, how do you know on what should I focus? Should I focus on the social media? Should I focus on my family? Should I focus on that business number one? Or should I focus on business number two? Should I focus on wife number one or wife number two? Yeah, there's so many different options. And therefore, what you need is overview sometimes about your life. Overview, the wide view, the wide angle is different than focus. The focus is, I only watch you. I'm focused. But the more I get into that limited view, the more I will forget about she's sitting there, there's your brother, there are your friends. So what needs to be learned and is able to be developed is you have both sometimes at the same time. I know who is sitting where. But at the same time, I'll also know in which direction I'm pointing my words to. So that means on the one side, there is something open at this moment in time, but at the same time also, you have something focused. And to have and learn the ability to access this, let's say with your mind, to train your mind that he is always like in this category, because it's like you're driving the car. Of course, it matters what you're doing in regards to the steering. So it's like the direct focused interaction. Yeah, but only in interplay with all the other drivers on the street. So what is now more important? To focus on the others or to focus on your driving? Both of it at the same time. Only this. Focus and the openness at the same time. This is what means yin and yang cannot be separated. But in order to get there, sometimes it's necessary to individually, separately practice, okay, this now is a focused state, and this one right now is an open state. Yeah? To be very clear and be able to distinguish for yourself. Okay, this is the focus, it feels like this. This is the open, it feels like that. And now comes the magic about it, how to combine both into the same time. Yes, and this is something everybody will need to figure out. This is when the magic happens and you are stopping from the separation of either that or that into it's both of it at the same time. Yeah. And now in regards to this overthinking, so what is it that people, for example, are able to practice? There I can suggest, for example, you are choosing one object, which can be in a lot of cases an object that we call that is your meditation object. It can be the breath, for example. So instead of following up what comes into your mind, which means if you have too many thoughts, we turn it around. You are deciding what you are going to put onto your mind for the next 5 minutes. Whatever it is, whatever you choose, this is your so-called meditation object. So that means I am telling myself, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I am going to only place my attention, my mind, on the breath. So I feel how the breath enters into my body, and I also feel how it is coming out of my body. This is when you use the breath, for example. Yeah. Other people, if they find it too hard still, you can use this type of movement. So what is your meditation object is now, let's say, the movement. It's the movement itself, the up movement, the down movement. But the focus is there. So this is a way of what we call mindful. You are mindful of what you do. Your mind is full of something. Yeah, full of what? Full of what you have put into it. That's why then you call it mindful practice. I know exactly where I put my hands. I make it slow. It doesn't really matter what type of movement it is. It is only as long as I do it, I know what I do. So I don't leave, let's say, these movements right now to coincidence. No, you learn for 2 minutes, 3 minutes to take something in full responsibility and awareness of what you are able to concentrate on. And this is a so-called, we sometimes also call them mind exercising or mind development practices. Because it's not about the movement itself. To just do this movement, it's not going to bring you too much benefit, let's say, physically. Right now, not yet. But this is, this slow movement and all of that. That is there for you to, first of all, learn to focus the mind. Learn to focus the mind. This number one. And afterwards, after you realize, okay, actually right now, I can feel that in the moment where I start to have conversations with people, you know when you are present or not. Yeah, you are starting to feel that, okay, now my awareness is not with you, it's gone. No? And then you feel what is the difference between now I'm mindful, now I'm not mindful. Because this ability to distinguish is therefore so essential, because if there is something that we humans can do about our life, then it can only be done while you are mindful. If you don't know you have a problem, you can't solve it. And that's it. So the whole point of why is there so much this emphasis on mindfulness? Yeah, why should I know what I do? Because if you don't know what you do, your life is a coincidence. And that's not what it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be what you put onto your mind, what you want to see yourself, the way how you want to see yourself, what you want to achieve in this lifetime. It should be possible. But only if with the allowance of what has been given into your own hands, if you also use this chance. And like I said in the first time that we were meeting, I strongly think and believe that we all have something that comes from us, that we have in our hands. And if that potential that we have in our hands is merged with our awareness and with our action, and then at the same time also is combined with the will of God, or the will of the destiny, or destiny itself, then it's going to happen. But if you put something onto the mind which is not in harmony with the will of the nature, with the will of God, with the destiny, you can try as much as you want. It's not going to happen. So, what is this discovery once again about? Discover your place in this hugeness and submit. But submit doesn't mean it's bad. It means that it's incredible that something like this exists. This is the submission. Submission, it's not in terms of you give up. No. It's not you give up life. No, you finally allow the fullness of life to flow through you. This is called submission. So you can always understand these wordings in different ways. But the one I'm talking about right now is allow life to run through you. You can express it in terms of what happens for a reason. Yeah? If something happens, and this is why it's so important, that acknowledgement. Because acknowledgement is the first step of understanding all of what we go through belongs to the process. And what is this process? For example, everybody, every human in this world, I think, is going to different stages of challenges, let's call them like this. These challenges can be, for example, let's just take one, loss, losing something. There was a time when we all were still small child, and when somebody took something away from you, maybe some of us were already crying, because already very young you felt what losing means, to lose something that actually you like. No, then teenager, 10 years later, somebody took again something away from you, same feeling. Nowadays, somebody takes something away that you strongly feel like it belongs to you, the same feeling comes up. So what I'm saying is, throughout all the decades, the feeling of loss, it's always the same. The situations, the circumstances, they change. Why that feeling comes up. But the point is, it's the same. The feeling of loss is the feeling of loss. If you're angry about your car gets scratched, or you're angry about you lost something, or you're angry about somebody took something from you, the angriness is also the same. If you're jealous, you're jealous. There are not 50 different types of jealousy. There are 50 different reasons why you become jealous. But the jealousy is the same. The angriness is the same. The loss is the same. The hate is the same. The joy is the same. The happiness, it's the same. And so what I think is happening is that each human being is confronted with loss. And now the question is, how are you individually dealing with that now? And as long as you have not found a solution to deal with loss, losing is going to be part of the challenges you will face over and over and over again. Once you have managed and found a solution in regards to loss, there will be things coming up that make you angry, because the next challenge is overcome angriness. Small things make you angry, big things make you angry. It's always the same angriness until you found a solution. No, the anger cannot manage me. It must be the other way around. Anger solved. Then comes the next one. Question of life and death, of fear. Until you have solved the answer for yourself, how to deal with fear. And why I'm now pretty convinced to state the things like this is because there is so much similarity to the way and the reasons why we have this type of hardening methods coming from the Shaolin Kung Fu training. Hardening meaning, like you saw also before from Shifu Yanlei when he was hitting himself, we have many tools inside that you can use to get in touch with pain. We necessarily take into consideration that this is going to happen. We know when you start touching that, when you start doing these methods, the pain is going to come. We want it to come. Why? Because now you can go in. Now you can really go in, and on the go, in the present moment, that is the special part about it. In the present moment, you figure out the way how to release it. And there is that saying, when you have when you have overcome a certain level of pain, overcome means it's never going to come again. It's finished. You walk through that level of pain one time. The next pain you will feel is a different one. It's not the same anymore. So there is a difference between something shows up in your lifetime and you are ignoring it, you are avoiding it, you're trying to run away from it, and you face it. You face the anger, you face the fear, you face the jealousy, you face the pain, you face what you don't like, you face the fact that you are out of your comfort zone. Why? Because you know that once you have overcome it and find a solution for it, it's solved for this lifetime. And this is my suggestion, to view these methods sometimes to make yourself life, there's that nice saying, life is not going to get easier. It's just that your mind and your body become more resistant, more strong. Same situation, more relaxed. Why? Because you finally start to find a solution that is within your reach, within your hands. And I think the great part for me personally, why I'm still after so many years like this approach about the physical practice combined with the spiritual mental development like in the Shaolin Temple, is because there are many institutions, many philosophies that talk about overcome the suffering, ending the suffering. But end the suffering. But overcome the suffering, that gives now for me perspective. Overcome the suffering means it's going to be there. You're going to lose your mother. You're going to lose your father. You're going to lose animals and humans that you love. It's going to happen. You're going to lose money. And at the same time, people are also going to hurt you even though you don't even know what you did wrong. Things like this are going to happen in this lifetime. To wait for better times to come where the world will be completely in peace and you can walk peacefully over the street, never having the fear that somebody's going to come and do something to you. It's not going to happen. Because the world is just the way as it is. But knowing this, preparing yourself, learning the right ways or useful ways that are developing yourself physically and mentally to be able to walk through this lifetime. That's possible. That is something that is available to us. It's just you need to get rid of those fantasies that better times are going to come. If we don't create the better times, nothing's going to happen. So,
one thing that's really stood out for me is purpose, because we speak about it quite a lot. And I think I was curious as to, is the path to happiness through finding purpose through faith, teachings, religion, or can you find purpose outside that box? You know, through an endeavor to help people or serve people in a different way?
Yeah, great question. I think before we get into it, I'd like to also stress that the ordained path is not for everybody, and that it's not like Buddhism, and especially our school of Buddhism, it's not exclusive. You know, to practice a spiritual path or Buddhist spiritual path, you don't have to follow the ordained way of life. You can still dedicate yourself to a spiritual path, but your training is different. This is the training of what we would call union, like the union of life, like normal life, and spiritual development. And if you were going to take that path, you would want to use your experience of daily activities, work, relationships, raising the kids, dealing with the stresses and strains of life as your training ground for training your mind. And that's completely possible and is a great part of our tradition as well. In fact, one of the most loved teachers in our tradition is not a monk. You might have seen on the front of the building, but these big posters, because we have a senior teacher coming, our teacher from New York City. Maybe you guys can check him out the next time you're here. He's one of our most senior and most loved teachers, but he's not a monk. He's what we would call a lay practitioner. But in terms of your question about purpose, meaning, direction, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head. Like there's two aspects to spiritual development, I believe, give your life purpose and direction, meaning. One is the quest for happiness, which we touched on already. You know, like according to Buddha, every single living being, including insects and animals, have the principal wish to be happy all the time. And in every decision that they subsequently make, is informed and motivated by this wish. So everything we do in life is motivated by, I want to be happy. And some people might argue, well, you know, sometimes I do things I don't want to do. But when you do things you don't want to do, you're motivated by the consequence of not doing it. But it's still related to the overall wish, I want to be happy. Like, you know that if you don't do this thing, consequently, it's going to affect your happiness in some way. And so it's interesting, you know, like if you feel that you've found in life the thing that makes you happy and that motivates you, the quality of what you do is up here. But if you're motivated by the consequence of not doing it, the quality is down here. Like if you think of a job that you hate, how well will you do that job? You will do it enough that you won't get fired because you fear the consequences of losing your job, which will affect your overall happiness. But if you feel that that job is where you get your happiness, then you will put your whole heart into it. So there's a sort of psychology of life that begins with this aspiration, I want to be happy. And I guess from a spiritual perspective, either as a layperson or as a monk or a nun, it's the psychology of a spiritual practitioner is built entirely on this wish. And so what Buddha is saying is any subsequent wish that is in any way at odds with your principal wish, you're going away from the meaning of your life. And if your subsequent wishes and actions, activities are in line with your principal aspiration to be happy all the time, then you're finding the meaning of your life. You know, once I was teaching on this in Australia, and in Australia, it wasn't uncommon for people to a little bit heckle or shout stuff out, which was sort of part of the challenge and the fun of it and the journey. In Britain, everyone is much more well behaved. Anyway, there was one guy who said, well, I found the path to happiness because I found surfing. And he's like, well, surfing makes me happy, therefore it's in line with my wish to be happy. So I found a path. And I'll come back to that. And there was another guy I met that played rugby league. And he said, rugby league is a true source of happiness because I'm never happier when I'm running up and down the pitch with the ball. That's me, that's my place, that's my source of happiness. And so on the surface, it looks like, yeah, they found direction and meaning. But in a more profound way, if we go a little bit more subtle, actually they've not found the meaning of their life. They found really the very thing that's ultimately going to make them vulnerable. Like just with the guy with the rugby ball, with the rugby league guy, if he believes that playing rugby is the only source of his true happiness, then the more he's running, the happier he should become. But if I was running after him with a cattle prod, saying, no, don't slow down because I want you to be happy, the time would eventually come that the running itself would start to cause him first fatigue, and then physical pain, then agony, and then maybe even death, you know. And as well as that, if he maintains the belief that the true source of his happiness is running on a pitch, when he reaches old age, he's going to enter a severe depression because the one thing that brings him joy will start to be pulled away from him. And so when you really analyze these things, same with the surfing guy, when you really analyze these things, actually, these are not truly giving them direction in life. They're leading them into a cul-de-sac because ultimately these things will be what hurts them. So finally, and of course you could argue that I'm biased because I've dedicated my life to the Buddhist path, but finally I believe you have to say, if it's true that happiness is pleasant mental feelings arising from inner peace, then direction, meaning, purpose, from one point of view, can only be found in finding mental peace. Whatever you do in life, it has to give you mental peace. And then another thing that you touched on, and this is the second part to this, is about altruism, like trying to help others or trying to care for others, have compassion. Once we start to understand the meaning of happiness and the meaning of suffering, which we haven't really spoken about too much so far, but once we start to understand the meaning of happiness, and we start to see how people are making so many mistakes about happiness, and these mistakes are often leading to addiction, depression, and all kinds of other problems in their life, if we can then start to become a guide for others, like dedicate our life, that doesn't necessarily mean interfering. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that I would walk around Leeds and say, all right, mate, you look miserable. You've probably got wrong aspirations. But in our heart, we start to become motivated to be the best person we can for the sake of guiding others to happiness. It may be that you have very little opportunity to put that into practice, like to actually help people. Those opportunities may become maybe few and far between, but you still find purpose in trying to become that person. And if you feel like, if you start to think, well, all right, I need to be out there helping people, then you slightly lost the aspiration, because you've already allowed yourself to become dependent. But if in your heart, again, this is coming from the point of a Buddhist monk, but if in your heart you're training yourself in inner peace and training yourself to find that peace for the benefit of all other living beings, there's no doubt that sooner or later those opportunities will come. But when they come, you're already in the right place to help, as opposed to thinking I've got to be out there fixing everybody, because that in itself is a dependency.
It's easy to become fearful, it's easy to lose hope, it's easy to get lost. As long as it's easy, that's not the training. I do the training to get started until it gets hard, and then it matters.